And before we kind of get into our question of, what's alive in you, we always want to ground and land in that question. We are asking for your support and support in the form of watching us live on YouTube when you can. If you can find our channel, get resourced. Our goal is to get up to 500 subscribers. And with your support, it helps us increase the viewer time because currently YouTube has a hard time trying to find the right audiences to share our content to. And so we need more data. So by having more viewership and more subscribers, it helps YouTube better sort where we can basically share our content. So if you're watching us here, maybe on Facebook, our Facebook group, we invite you to watch us on YouTube instead. Like and subscribe the Get Resource channel, and that allows us to actually capture the viewership time. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about that, babe?
Um, I don't think so. Just yeah, wanna if you think it's good, share, like and subscribe so that other people who will benefit can hear what we're saying.
Hmm. Awesome. Great.
Yes. Mm, mhm.
All right. So, what's alive in you today, Summer?
Ooh, I'm tired. Taught a course at 6 a.m. this morning
Mm,
for people in Amsterdam and far away. So it was so great, but usually get up before to teach. So um, tired in a very
mm.
oh my.
Oh, I think we just lost Summer. Let me see here if she can come back in. Anyways, you're live with me, and we're going to hang out until Summer gets back because we lost her. Woohoo, we lost her. Anyways, we're also experimenting with this different orientation on the phone, going with a 9:16 aspect ratio. That will really push out reels and slice and dice up our conversations. So while we wait for Summer to get back, I like to check in here. What's alive in me today is looking outside and dreading driving out in this weather. So got some plans afterwards to around the city for a bit. And that involves driving around. And so, yeah, winter driving. If those are watching, we got our first snowfall today, and the white powder is coming down and still coming down. So that's what's alive in me right now. All right. So there you go. We got some people. Hey, great. Thanks for commenting. Awesome. Yes, welcome watching this live. Typically, it's myself and Summer on this live. We just lost her here. So we're waiting for her to come back to this and then we get going. We get going. So the topic that we want to talk about is conscious co-creating relationships. Conscious co-creating relationships. The question is, uh, what is your definition of a conscious co-creating relationship? Put in the chat. Love to hear from you what you think a conscious co-creating relationship is about. Hey Leo, what is this about? Yeah, this is about conversations, real conversations around relationships, communication, conflict, and today we're chatting with conscious co-creating relationships. And welcome back, Summer. There you go. Yay. I just shared what's alive in me and I kind of laid out what we're going to be talking about today. So, my question to you, and we have some visitors through YouTube. It's amazing checking us out, asking us. And the question to you is what is a conscious co creating relationship? What's that in your mind?
Oh man. Well, we're always co-creating relationships, but they're not always conscious. Um, I would say, when we're unconscious, we're repeating patterns, we're getting triggered, we stonewall people, we block people. And so, how do we start co creating in a conscious way? Bruce Lipton has something called the honeymoon effect, how two energy fields, two people can come together and elevate each other in what I would call purpose mission. I think a lot of people are, hey, Leo, um, they're looking at the world and going, hey, something's not quite right here. Um, how can I make a difference? And I think we make a difference when we collaborate in a meaningful way. And that doesn't necessarily mean corporations and big organizations and things like that that can get steeped in red tape and political stuff, where leadership is more about administration and control of resources and measurable outcomes. I think it lends us to leading with authenticity and vulnerability, truth, and what I would call co-regulation. There's a lot of people out there wanting to build new communities, but communities don't last unless we know how to communicate in more conscious ways. That's what I would say to start off. Um, what is your feeling about what conscious co-creating relationships are all about?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to like the word conscious because there's a lot of conscious out there, and it can be so cool to start using the word conscious. So conscious to me is becoming aware. Like what is our vision together? Having that conversation of what's important to us. Are we working together as a team? Do you have my back? Do I have yours? And co-creating is, yeah, coming into alignment of our vision and our values, and that we're not in just relationship, just for me in terms of like, I don't want to be alone, or I like companionship and friendship and sex and intimacy, and those are all important. Those are all great needs. But then taking it a bit further of like, what does this relationship want from us? How does love want to be expressed through us? So there's some intentionality with being in a conscious co-creating relationship, is being aware of why I'm in it in the first place. And are we rowing the boat together? Right? Because anybody here kind of relate, you're watching that you've been in a relationship and it seems like you guys are rowing in the wrong direction against each other, right? Going separate ways, perhaps maybe a particular argument or conflict that seems to go around and never resolved, or it seems like you're kind of not going on the same page, right? And so it can be quite exhausting. Would you agree? Draining, tiring, something that maybe I'm not looking forward to being with, right? Holding on that resentment. And so we invite those that want to co-create to be in a place of like being aware of why you're together and having the skills, right? Summer, like you said, having the skills to communicate, because that's a big piece too, is that if I don't know how to communicate, then everything is affected. When we're not co-creating, we're basically co-destructing each other. So everything we kind of touch kind of gets impacted, right?
Right. Leo made a comment, and I'm not sure what it means exactly, but it says, if we don't pass math, will we still pass this grade?
Mm,
And yes, no math required, actually. No English required. In fact, um, what we learned recently, and if you look it up on Chat GTP or anything like that, the English language, if you look up the main question or purpose of the English language, it's a very colonial language. And the purpose is to, what's that thing? It's to categorize and create efficiencies. And it's a very corporate language.
mm,
Whereas ancient and Egyptian and earth-based languages, their primary question is, what's my relationship to that thing? And so
mm,
um, I think what you were talking about, Dre, lends to some of us in transactional relationships where we're like, well, if you take up the garbage, I'll do this. Or if I'm lonely and you keep me company, then this. And it's a
mm,
very tit for tat transactional, like our corporate system.
mhm,
Whereas relational is different. It takes the present moment into account. It doesn't go into what we think we should be. If you're a mom, you should stay at home. Or if you're a mom in these days, you need to go to work. Or if all these cultural stipulations, it's more about, who are you at your core?
mm,
And if we join forces, and I think you said something really foundational, is if we hookup culture, get involved, and the foundation of a relationship is because we're lonely. The reason why we get into a relationship is really super important
Mm,
and foundational to its continued existence. So that's
yeah.
another thing.
Yeah. Like it's so important to know the language that I'm speaking, right? Like growing up in a violent culture, the language I've learned to use is, telling people what's wrong with them, right? Like judgmental language, and I don't think that that inspires co-creation at all, right? That inspires like becoming defensive and proving who's right or who's wrong, and now we're just like swimming in different directions, and it could be such a drain, like to be in a relationship where it's just not like going where I wanted to go. Like I'd rather just be by myself. I'll save all that time and energy and stress, right? Just to be on my own. But then being on my own is not for me deeply satisfying either. And when I can find myself in a relationship where we are really going on the same page and what we call is, divine assignments, conduits for each other's healing and growth. It's there's so much meaning and fulfillment that comes from it. And because I'm so nourished in relationships, I believe that affects my health. It affects my ability to earn, right? It affects my performance. I'm just a lot happier. Wouldn't you agree? Like it starts with relationships.
Well, everything's relationships. Absolutely everything. With our body, with ourselves, with each other, with our school classmates, with our parents, it's everything. We don't come into the world without relationship.
Mm,
Um, it's absolutely everything.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I know Hendricks, they have a wonderful book about conscious co-creating relationships. They're both psychologists. They're a couple that have worked together for 30 years. They have a wonderful book that they talk about how it's really soul-based. And like you were saying, right, relationships as assignments. I think conscious co-creating relationships are quite spiritual
Mm,
and
yeah.
soul-based. Yeah. And goes back to the concept of, you know what, really having soul contracts. Maybe we believe we've come here for a reason and a purpose. Maybe we're not
Mm,
here just to go to school and have a job and go through the rat race. Maybe there's something
mm.
deeper.
Yeah. And how does one kind of go about finding that that realness, that depth in their own life? Like there's something deeper. Like kind of tying it back to like a conscious co-creating relationship, right? Like when you started dating, when you started seeing people or becoming or find yourself in a relationship, did you have conversations like that of like, what's your vision, your mission, your values, something deeper, or was it for something else, just for companionship or just to be with someone? How did
Oh
that
man,
evolve?
that's a good question. Well, geez. Yeah. I think it reminds me of once I asked my mom, why did you have kids? And she said, well, because everyone else was doing it. So I think, when you start in high school, it's just like, well, yeah, everyone's dating a week or 2 weeks when you're younger. It just seems to be the thing. No one tells you too much about hormones or how to communicate or be kind. It's just not taught, is it? There's some
Mm,
places where they teach marital skills and premarital stuff, but it's few and far between. So that's a really good question. I'm gonna have to think about. What about you? When you started dating, what for you? I'm gonna be kind of sexist here, but I judge for boys. It's usually like sex, right?
yeah, it was exhilarating to kiss someone or touch and have sex, and I think it was my other head that was thinking for most of the time to be in a relationship. It was fun. There was this innate drive to just like be desired and be wanted, and it to to have the exhilarations of sex and that what comes with it, right? And so there wasn't much thinking is other than, well, she's beautiful, she's hot, and then giving my power away. And then there's a deep need down below it is like this need that I thought I needed her, to make me feel worthy,
Wait a
for
sec.
me to. Hmm?
You said you were giving your power away. What do you mean by that?
Well, given my power when I was young, like it was like, oh, please like me, you know,
Oh,
like looking outside of me where I if she looked at me a certain way, if she smiled at me, she touched me in any particular way, like I would feel good. Like I would feel like I'm good looking or I'm attractive, I'm desired. And so this focus on something outside of me was so prevalent growing up in my childhood, into my teenage years, into my 20s, right? Even in my 30s. It's like this deep yearning need of like, if you say yes and I sleep with you, then that makes me worthy as a man.
mm,
Because I wasn't taught about what worthiness is within myself. I was taught that in order to be a good boy, or what a man is, he needed to be this or have that, right? Yeah. And of course, locker room talk, like a lot of men pride themselves based on how many women they slept with, even giving the numbers of how many women you slept with, right? Or at the house party, or who did you hook up with her, and so forth and so forth. It's kind of like a notch on the belt. And where does that come from? This deep desire to be worthy.
mm. Yeah. I mean, women you slept with, cars, sports were a big thing when I was in university. The
Yeah.
things, the things.
It's interesting because, like, because it's not taught in school, right? It's not a general type of thing. If, well, I'll just say my parents never taught me that. It's just I
Sorry, what
went
didn't they
along,
teach you?
like to teach me the self-worth, the value within myself. And perhaps without that education and awareness, the normal developmental process of someone is to kind of go through that experience, to, as a young boy hitting puberty, I'll speak for myself, this need, that this sex drive comes on, and needing to, like, go out there and mac on girls, right? And talk to girls or guys, right? Just this urge to go around, and it's biological, it's a developmental stage, to the point of like me telling, let's say, a 20-year-old or something like that, that's really so steeped into that, and being like, hey man, just work on yourself, and she'll come, like you become the magnet. And there are a few men that in their 20s that are like that, right? I call them, old souls, and they're aware of what they need to do within their internal world. And the majority of men during that age range is like, nah, right? My sex drive, my testosterone is really driving my thinking right now. Everything is external.
Right. And I mean, we put on an event called the Ultimate Relationship Event, and there's some mm, all sorts of ages that come to it, but it's usually 30s, 40s, 50s where they're like, "Hmm,
Hmm.
I think there's a greater purpose to being together. Maybe it's to awaken in both of us um a greater purpose, but also healing. We realize, oh, when I'm triggered and when someone else irritates me, maybe it's more about me. Maybe it's pointing me in the direction of something important and something that I need to heal that I've inherited. And this is for me the exciting part of these generations is the ability to come out of our what I would say our cultural perpetual adolescence, or what I would call the emotional dark ages. Like thinking of emotions as appendages that we need to suppress, repress, deny, positive think our way out of, when now it's becoming more prevalent that, oh, wait a second, trauma. What's trauma? when our nervous system is overwhelmed, um, when there's what I would call an energetic stamp, something that has shook us that we weren't able to process in
Mm,
that time. And relationships are these beautiful gifts that go, they shake us to the core and remind us of those places that we need to heal. And as people are becoming more trauma aware, as they call it, I believe we're going to be able to actually heal through relationship. We're going to bypass the psychology, the private sessions, and things like that. And people are going to be able
mm,
to go back in history, even to the wars, to the imprints that we have in our DNA and our psyches from our grandparents and world wars. Um, I think it's coming to a time of consciousness like that. So that's
mm.
my long range future vision.
Yeah, and I totally see that now too happening. And when two people are both willing to do the work together to like repair disconnections and conflicts, it leads to like the greatest initiation of our lifetime. Because, like you said, without the initiations of our ancestors, the ceremonies, the places where it helps me move into adulthood, a lot of people are stuck in this perpetual adolescence. I call it lost boys in Neverland. Being a lost boy in Peter Pan, and this desire to stay young. This culture pushing out that, oh, look young, stay young, dress young, YOLO. And I'm like, that's interesting. There seems to be an aversion to wanting to be old, right? And there's s- some, I guess, judgments towards that, right? Of like, well, we can just look at the older people in our society just being thrown away to the side, right? Being casted away into a retirement home or being let go from a job or a career they've been with for 40, 50 years because they aged out, right? Like me by seeing that, it's like I'm afraid to be old because being old is not cool, right? And how about we reframe that to more of like maturity, the sense of maturation that comes with wisdom and lived experiences, that comes with when we can see people that have lived for a time become our elders and have a system to be able to capture that wisdom and knowledge and pass it down, pass it back, right? And where I'm going with this is this maturity that comes with, yeah, we're willing to work it together, and it becomes an initiation to move me out of my stuck adolescence and more into a maturation. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's like a big part of our collective healing. Yeah, in our culture now, it's we'll retire. Even the language to retire, it means to go to sleep and to go to sleep again, to retire. And I always say to people, why retire when you can re-inspire?
Mm,
Um, Women, especially because I work with them, their wisdom years are full of so much life experience, and there's no or not many places for people to put their life experience and wisdom into a place where it's received. I think the youth are floating out in space, and so are the elders because they don't get to be in relationship with each other.
mm,
Co-creative relationships, like you're saying, to me, goes back to that village. When there were villages, we appreciated our elders. We spent time with them. They did have wisdom. Nowadays, if you've just worked a job and then you're done a job, you're bored. We were just talking to our neighbor not long ago. He's like, "Well, I got a farm because then I've got something to do."
mm,
But when we're in relationship, we give to each other. We provide meaning,
mm,
and we're not bored. We don't have to sit and watch TV and be entertained by sports all the time. We're actually actively involved in others' lives. And I know for me, um, I have some friends that are 18, 19, 20 years old, and I thrive in having games nights with them, hanging out with them, sharing information because the new generations, um, they have a different perspective that really awakens something in me. And I also have something really valuable to offer them. And valuing all different types of
Mhm.
relationships, the multi generations. People now are looking back and, well, maybe I want to have a multi gen house again. We want to live in relationship with each other rather than this isolation that I think causes a lot of our mental health issues, this separation that we've come to think of as normal. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Well said. Hey, Brianna. Great to see you here. Popping your comment up here.
Brianna.
Yeah. So all the older people I know are so beautiful, rooted, alive, and inspiring. I want that. Yeah. And for me, as I get older in age, right? Like I'm embracing it. From the place of like these gray hairs of like a place of like wanted to give back. And find myself in places where I'm with younger people, and there's a thirst for knowledge for younger people too. Like I want to get to know what's going on in their generation, the challenges that they're facing, right? Versus like the story that, oh, back in my day, right? Or, my generation was better, our music was better, our clothes were better. This ageism that creates this separation, and hey, people are different. I'm different, you're different. And generationally it's so prevalent, right? Or like evident that, like, I was talking to my friend, and we're in our 40s now, and we're like, man, did you come to a time where you're old enough to see the difference in people in terms of the way they think and how they operate? Like we used to be the cool kids, and hey, we're not the cool kids anymore. We're just kind of laughing at that, right? Though it brings so much life force to me to be around people of different ages, different cultures, and that's one reason I love to travel, is just to like see how other human beings are, to connect to the human condition, no matter the race, the religion, where you're from. It's like, man, the core essence that deep down we're all the same. And to be able to connect with other men and women in a space where I get to see all of them and the diversity, it's like, man, this is cool. You know, there's something with like being isolated and being separate that it's so painful. And also I think it affects my health, my mental health, my emotional health. Though if I can be in a place where I can like talk to someone, get to know their culture, where they're from, and have open, real conversations, and get to a place where I'm needed, that's like fulfillment. That's meaning. Like I believe that extends my lifespan, right? When I'm needed, like to answer the question, that I'm useful.
Yeah. We all have this need to contribute,
Yeah.
to be seen, to be heard, to have a gift or a skill here.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's when you retire, you go to sleep is because you got nothing to do. You're bored. What are you going to do? There's nothing meaningful in life. But relationship I mean, that's why we're here. I mean, why else would you be here?
Yeah. And I'm realizing it does create space for me to even, you know, reflect on that question. Because if I'm so busy doing things, then I don't take the time to ask myself, why am I here? How do I want to contribute? Or even ask the relationship, like, why are we together? Versus like coming together in high school because we happen to be in the same grade, and we like the way we look.
Yeah.
It's being more intentional, because yeah, it does require some introspection around that piece to come into something what we call a conscious and co-creating. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it like the mirrors brand is saying these alive people. You get to learn more about life, its patterns, and what it's like when you talk to people. And when you're afraid of people, when you judge them as something, oh, they're old, or um, they're wearing the wrong clothes, or oh, they're sitting on the street begging. Like everyone is the same at their essence. And when you go outside your comfort zone just to say hello to someone you wouldn't normally say hello to and are really open minded, it opens up all these gateways in ourselves. You know, if we're so close to different people, we're close to parts of ourselves. We don't want to be creative. Maybe we don't want to wear some clothing that someone else is wearing. We're not actually authentically expressing ourselves here on planet Earth. We're trying to fit in. We're trying to um, maybe not be punished for being different. I'm sure there's lots of different ways. We're trying to keep ourselves safe because someone told us we're weird and we were offended or something. So, how can we, in school, we're isolated with the people of the same age and the same ideas. It's this, um, what do you call it when you're just immersed in everything that's the same? It's all whitewashed or brownwashed or just
Mm.
washed over with the sameness. And when everything's the same, there's no growth. There's no aliveness in the potential that we have as human beings. I mean, Joe Dispenza, he says, "Oh, we use 5% of our brain." 5%. Maybe we need to reach out to more aspects of ourselves, the mirrors of other people, so we can start waking up other parts of our brain, other
Mm.
parts of our aliveness. By saying that a lot of different people have a lot of different um, vocations, interests, abilities. My 19-year-old friend, he knows cars and mechanics from the inside out, and I just goes way over my head. I have no idea, and it's just this innate gift that he has. And I believe as people tap into those things, they can be of greatest service on the planet. But in school, we're taught math, reading, all these things that we can learn easily later. What we can't
Mm.
is tap into these innate abilities. You see kids, they're playing the piano. And I don't know about you, and I don't know if it's a trend about dancing. There's so many amazing dancers these days you see on the reels. They make Michael Jackson look like a schmuck, and everyone loved his dancing way back when, right? And so I think we're all evolving by being able to see each other's talents
Mm.
and encourage it. Like, I'm so happy people dance on these reels these days. It's so creative, it's so alive, it's so fun. And you see dads and daughters, multi generational. It's just such a beautiful and inspiring thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun seeing people in their gifts and their skills and talents and expressing themselves, right? Like for me, it's like, wow, that's cool. That's awesome. And it inspires me that, hey, can I do that too? Yeah. And when I live life like that, like where I'm not just walking along the street, but I have a little kick in my step as well and bring some play and lightness to it. And as you were speaking, what came through for me is like this isolation is so limiting to my being. Being separate or being on my devices. I truly believe everything that I do is an attempt to get connected, either to
Mm,
myself or to other people or to source. You call it God, universe, right? A higher power. And I find the phone to not be the real thing. They've designed it so well on the phones to capture my attention, to really poke the right buttons in my brain and my biology to give me those dopamine hits, thinking that I am getting the full breadth of connection. But it's like if I ate so much junk food, right? And then I eat real food, I know the big difference between those two. I wouldn't want to go back to junk food after I had real food. So there's something with this I call pseudo connection on phones and on devices. And I find myself on there too, right? I'm online right now as well. And technology makes it so easy for me to just be on my own. So I know the full nutrients and nourishment comes from being in the same places of people. Like s- it's interesting, isn't it? Like how we were together and now with technology, we're apart, and now there's this deep yearning to come back together, as if it's a pendulum swing to kind of find the right dial at the right tune while also not getting rid of technology and then going back into the Stone Ages, right? How to embrace it and use it in a way that takes care of things to allow us to go back into reconnection and re-nurturance, back as human beings.
Mhm. Well, I like that you bring up technology because I always say that I believe we're the most advanced bioengineered technology there is. Our bodies speak truth, and we have different kinds of technologies that can aid it, but, we're taught not to tap into what we truly know. We are these conduits of electromagnetic energy. The Institute of Heart Math talks about how our brain and our heart are these huge electromagnetic signals. And I forget his name. He's a physicist who talks about how every electromagnetic signal, i.e., your heart and mine, interact with each other. Every field interacts with every other field. Why aren't we talking about that? About how we can access. And some people are like, "Oh, I remember when the word energy first came out, and I thought, oh my God, that's weird and flaky and fluffy. And what the heck is that?" But honestly, when you have a heart attack and you're laying there, what do? They paddle you with paddles. And what are they doing to bring you back to life? They're using electromagnetic energy to bring you back to life. So we're full of it. So, um, how do we tap into that? How do we know how we interact with others? It's through feeling.
Mm.
And so many of us are taught to discount what our bodies are telling us all the time. And we're taught to judge and blame others for what we're feeling. And so I think part of co-creating relationships is daring enough to say what we're seeing. And I'm seeing maybe you're reading comments right now, Dre, and I'm like,
Mm.
oh, is he paying attention to what I'm saying? Or he looks distracted. Oh, and that's making me anxious. And what if we start speaking these things out loud in the moment with people and we start going, oh, is what I'm thinking in my head actually true or is it something else?
Mm. Yeah. I'm actually looking at my screen there where I can actually see your face talking. I've actually moved it to my top monitor so I can actually make out the comments. I was having a hard time reading it. I had to squint, right? And so, speaking of comments, I see Brianna has a comment. Relationship is the key to reconciliation. Reconciliation is truth, love, and healing in ourselves, in community, intergenerationally. And I stopped to dance with an older man playing an accordion in front of Walmart the other day. Cool. We were each glowing with joy, sharing these beautiful moments together. It felt like such a beautiful healing moment. I feel so grateful for taking the time to not rush home, to honor his sharing, to be honored as a young mom and little one. These moments of relationship have been the most healing in my life. And Brianna's like, yeah, isolation is so limited or limiting to my being. I believe this fundamentally. Yeah. Hmm. Man, there's people all around, right? Like, it's so interesting that there's people all around, and at the same time, I feel lonely. I feel disconnected. I feel unheard. The story that nobody gets me. It's so painful. It's yeah, it's sad. And there's a part of me that's angry too, right? Of like, you know, to the world, and I come into my soapbox or create whatever stories to separate. Yeah.
Yeah. I do love, Brianna, your story. Oh my gosh. Shouldn't we be doing that more? Giving, putting a loonie in a cart and giving it someone to the shopping market, paying for someone else's groceries, saying hello, being silly, dancing with someone in the streets, sitting down next to the guy sitting on the street, whatever it is. Oh my God, reach out, connect to someone. We're so sometimes not smelling the roses. We don't stop. Like you said, Dre, busyness. We're in business and w- we're thinking we're getting so much out of life by being busy, but it's really passing us all by. And what is that comes to conscious co-creating relationships? Like, what are we creating?
Yeah.
And our whole life, we may not think of the legacy that we're going to leave. Most people think of that as money. Well, what if there's something else? I was at the gym the other day. I get on this, it's a treadmill elliptical type of thing, and it's got this big screen that drives me crazy because all I want to do is look out the window. But it has all these numbers like kilometers per hour and this, that, the other, and time and heart rate and whatever. And I really only understand one or two of these things. And I'm like, weight. We have all these numbers that are an abstraction of what we really understand. No one asks us, hey, when you go to the gym, how do you feel in your body? Most people really only look at the outside, if your muscles are big, or how much do you weigh in numbers, or how much money do you make and what's your net worth, versus how do you actually feel in your life? I mean, when I was growing up, I was 16 and we had this neighbor and he was a plastic surgeon. We grew up in one of the wealthiest communities in Canada, big cars and pools and all this 3-car fancy garages and acreages and things like that. He ended up taking his own life, even though he looked like he was rich and happy and had all these cars and everything. And so, how do we get into what I would call right relationship? There's right livelihood and right relationship. One where I think, Dre,
Mm.
um, Bruce Lipton calls it noble gases, when two parts come together in their electrons and then they elevate the light that comes out from them. I know our relationship is like that. Instead of these ones that people might call toxic or draining, how do we maintain something that's life giving?
Yeah. Mm. You want my answer? Or is more
Yeah.
of a let's
Yeah,
sit
of
with
course
it.
I want your answer.
And we want your answer too, whoever's watching. Yeah. I mean, one thing that comes to mind for me is like being brought into a space where that is happening. For me is the model. And
Ah,
the model allows me to feel the felt experience rather than be in my head and over intellectualizing. It's like, oh, I want to do empathy. I want to be empathic. And I think it from my head. Rather, the embodiment of empathy is entirely different. There's a big gap between it. And it's really hard to explain because, as I explain, I'm in my head. And I also invite people into their head because now we're having intellectual debate or intellectual conversation. And I love intellectual conversation. It turns me on 100%. I'm not sure what's it called. There's a sexualized term. Do you
Oh,
remember? Hmm, I forgot.
yeah.
I might get back to you. I think one of them is sapiosexual. Either
That's
I
the
get
mental. That's it. And
is it?
demisexual is emotional. Yeah.
Ah, there you go. So sapiosexual, which is a term I've learned recently, is when I consider myself to be turned on by intellectual conversations. So I'm like, yeah, 100%. And demisexual is being turned on through the emotional connection. So to answer your question, because I kind of veered off course here, is to yeah, find myself in a community where this is being practiced, right? It could be at a sweat lodge or an indigenous
Sorry,
community or
I'm just wondering what you mean because what's being practiced? Because
hmm?
you just went into sexual
Oh,
stuff and then you're like, what's being practiced? I'm like, what are you talking about there? I think we're going way off the rails.
yeah, we're going off the rails. It's turning to R-rated now.
Sapiosexual. Christian, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though what I was referring in terms of practice is the embodiment of I think you were saying co-creation, like to do be in relation with each other. I like to be in an environment where that's being practiced and modeled. So I see and feel how it is where people are safe with each other. That's what started my journey in getting to know myself was when I found myself in an environment where people were sharing vulnerably and openly, and I felt there wasn't any judgment around that. And because they led the way, I felt compelled to also share about myself and be seen and heard. And then I was like, you know what? I really like this. I prefer this over drinking my face off and pretending to be cool, you know, or keeping my problems away. I didn't feel safe with that group, but I do feel safe with this. And it felt so like generative and nurturing because I felt it in my body. I'm like, this feels good. I want more of it. And that's like this genuine connection. And I'll relate to an example as well. I used to need liquor and drugs to dance.
Mhm.
I call it the liquid courage. I was so self-conscious of myself that I needed to drink to just like let loose. I was in an environment where people got up and started dancing, not on alcohol, not on drugs, and they were pointing to me to bring me up to dance. In that moment, I had major judgments of like, these people are weirdos. This is crazy. I'm in a cult. What the heck is going on? What are these people on? What's in the water? It was so awkward for me, but they modeled it for me. And on the second day, I decided, you know what? I'll get up and dance because I didn't feel alone in that. There were other people dancing. The music was blasting. I felt safe to just, you know what? I'll get up and dance and see what happens. And I was so into it. It was so fun that at the end of the experience, I had a realization that I'll never go back to needing alcohol or drugs to dance. Because dancing, being high on oxygen with other people, was the most amazing high I ever got. And that's the difference between true connection or like a pseudo connection for me. So when I experience it, like I want more of it. Such as if you find yourself in a conscious co-creating relationship, you will know. You would know because a lot of relationships don't start off like that.
No. Interesting you say that because you just finished talking about dancing, and that's really a big part of how we met.
Mm. Mm.
We love to
Yeah.
dance.
And we're
Yes,
dancing tonight.
we are. We are. We're dancing tonight.
Yeah.
Yes. And for those of you looking for spaces, Get Resource, that's our YouTube channel, but we also have a dash sourced Facebook group for conscious co-creating relationships. So we do free workshops, we do all sorts of stuff in there if you want to look and join it. I believe the link to it will be down below as well. Um, what else do we want to say about that? So you realized in community, although at first you thought it was very weird and uncomfortable, that you love to dance and you don't need alcohol to do it.
Mm.
Hmm. So I wonder what else we can learn about in community, like how to be more human, how to move our bodies. And ancient, like Africans, I can just imagine being around the fire and expressing themselves. And what do we do at night? I'll speak for when I go for a walk around my neighborhood. The TVs are all on. People are munching on their popcorn and just watching a tube and news, and we think that's life. Oh, I'll watch someone else's life. A lot of us are watching videos and movies and shows. We know more about what's going on in a TV sitcom than we do about our neighbors and our families in our lives. I think there's something wrong with that. I am missing the connection, the real time connection with people. And this is why we do what we do and build conscious communication groups where we share authentically and we learn more about what actually makes us human.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so filling. Like spaces where I can be myself and belong at the same time, right? And it
Yeah.
makes so much sense for me to give up my authority, who I am, because I wanted my parents to love me and take care of me. Without them, I will die, right? Though as I become conscious and be able to kind of, you know, steer my own ship, have my own compass in life, is an invitation, an opportunity to come back into myself, being like, huh, now it's time to author my life. Now it's to know thyself and to carve my path. It's like coming back full circle again, a remembrance of who I was when I came into this world, and I had to push that away to survive, but now I get to bring that back. So that's the hero's journey for me, is coming back home to myself, meaning who am I? Why am I here? Are my relationships intentional? Why am I in relationships with this person? If I'm in a intimate relationship, what are we co-creating, right? Are we co-creating pain and resentment and ongoing fights? Are we co-creating a purpose together, a mission together, beating and walking the same path? Questions like that. And that can get me out of my head of like, you did this, you didn't do this, when I can tune myself into of, yeah, what's our relationship about? That gets me excited. When when you start speaking about your vision and what you see, I'm like, let's go. Let's create it. Let's build it. It's not, we're in a timeline where we're getting to this new earth, and you have this vision of the new earth, and I have this vision. It's like that propels me. That fills my life force energy. And that I find, I'll speak for myself, such a strong foundation of our relationship is when we have that shared purpose. Yeah.
100%. It is the center of it.
Mhm.
Not to mention our personality, compatibility, human design, and all those other things that align. Um, but I believe as we are souls on the planet that we do have soulmates, that we do have other souls that we can engage with to bring about a collective evolution, really healing. We don't have to stay in this world as it is with war and separation and labels and 80% of people being on antidepressants. It's because we're disconnected. Even addiction comes from the root word dictatorship, giving our power away to someone or something else. And you found it. Bruce Alexander was a brilliant scientist in 1971, and they hide this information really well. He concluded that addiction is really solved through connection. And if your story about dancing and needing drugs and alcohol to dance and then being connected to people while you're doing it, and then all of a sudden going, oh, I don't think I need the alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
There's a prime example of it. It's almost that simple.
Mm,
But we do have to overcome some fears because a lot of us
mm,
have seen some tremendous um, travesties. There is some violence in this world. And I believe we all can steer ourselves free of that when we really want to. So,
yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree. We agree, Christian. We are so disconnected. And that also pains me a lot, and that I'm worried. I'm worried for the generation that's born in devices. I came from a generation, I'm a millennial, and so I grew up in a time where the internet was a prevalent. I didn't grow up at a time where, I had cell phones until much later in my life. And so I know what it was like to just be out there to be with people, to socialize. And I could just see the challenges of like looking at kids these days with an iPad or an iPhone already in their hands, glued, and kind of relating in ways that are like through chat rooms and texting, and not building that skill set to communicate in person, to read social cues or body language, to develop that skill of empathy and compassion,
Yeah,
you
well, they've
know?
really been trained that way, haven't they? For 2 years, as developing, for kids or teenagers, 2 years to be in a state of fear. COVID was around the world and being taught to stay on your devices and the Google Classroom, all you do is do it on a computer. I wonder how that 2 years affected people, young children,
Yeah.
not being able to see their parents' faces or their expressions, no contact with the outside world, and fear. They wouldn't even know how to go and make those contacts because they were told to stay on devices and to be afraid of it. And so I hear where you're coming
Mm.
from, like, that's alarming.
It is. It is, and that's why I so desire to be connected with people that are younger than me, to be with, to hear what they're going through, not to judge. It's easy to judge, right? Even now, I might be judging and making assumptions, though I want to hear what's really going on, and I want to get it, right? I want to be in a place where I can also share my experiences as well, because the people that are coming to me that I happen to work with are like 40-year-old men that are older, that have gone through a journey of hell and back, to then take the inner work seriously, to take the work of knowing thyself seriously, to realize that it wasn't about sleeping around, it was about really deepening intimacy with that person that they want to be with, and to figure out how to relate in ways where they can become consciously co-creating, because it pains them so much to be stuck in these patterns, in these loops, and they come to realize that they're recreating the old family system they're with. And so I say this because there seems to be a developmental time frame for people to get to the point of like, oh, maybe a life crisis, a divorce, losing a job, something to wake someone up, to now then look at themselves and be like, what's truly real here? Maybe I needed to go down the path of making a lot of money and getting that house. And I heard that story over and over again, right? Where
Mhm.
they realize, wait a minute, this isn't it. My life seems so superficial and lacks depth. And I've sacrificed my time, my relationships to get something I can't really take with me in the afterlife. Like you say, there's no U-Haul behind a hearse.
Yeah, we're tricked.
Yeah.
We're tricked. Repeating generational patterns over and over again. Oh my god, and then having to and people might argue, "Oh, yeah, well, afterlife, there we don't come back." But I've seen enough to know that we actually do. Because I didn't believe it at first either. Conscious co-creating relationships. How are we gonna tie this up in a neat little bow for everybody today?
Yeah. So
Multi-trations,
if that's something that you
connectivity.
desire, if that's something that you desire, like, to just really be in harmony with your beloved, to be on the same page, or you're in a relationship where you're becoming that, or you're already that, right? We have an event coming up on Monday, November 17th, and Tuesday, November 18th, called the Ultimate Relationship Event. It's for couples and those in relationships that want to create that conscious co-creating relationship. Because I haven't learned how to relate in ways that are life-giving rather than life-taking. I haven't learned ways to communicate what my feelings are or what my needs are, or know what my life-serving yes is, right? And so this is an invitation where you can come to this free event. It's a free event, 100%, and learn the tools that will give you to help you begin that path to implement those skills. And the big piece is like learning what gets in the way and having the vocabulary, the mechanics to then start practicing it and embodying it. And then, of course, we have other spaces where, if you so choose to continue to work with us, we have a space where you can continue to practice and embody more skills and more practices and so forth. So that's happening on November 17th, 18th, Ultimate Relationship Event. It's online, the 2 days, evening. Anything else to add to that?
We're in Edmonton, so it's Mountain Standard Time, so it might be different from some of you watching.
Right.
You want to get out of, the time. But if you want to get out of being triggered, repeating patterns, and it's been painful enough for you, come join us.
Yeah, send us a message, DM myself or Summer. And the time, it's from 6:30 to 9:30. So 3 hours each day, Mountain Time. Yeah. So if that interests you, send us a message and we'll go from there. We also have a Facebook group. Summer mentioned earlier. If you're on Facebook, you use it. Check us out at Get Resource. Just type in Get, and it's RE dash, right? Sourced.
To be
Yeah.
resourced. That's right.
Resourced, and check us out there. We share, like Summer said, free monthly workshops. This month is the Ultimate Relationship event. Next month we'll have like triggers as teachers and so forth, and we'll also have posts and videos, and we're all about kind of giving you some golden nuggets here and there of the vision that
Cool.
we want to co-create.
Yeah, Christian is in Edmonton too. Woohoo!
Awesome, beautiful. Yeah, reach out, Christian, if that lines up with you. I'd love to hear from you. We can have a conversation around that. All right. Anything else? Okay.
Oh, I'll say one last comment.
Oh,
One last one, because it's my favorite thing that I've been saying for a little while. And that is, it takes a village to raise a child. And it takes a village to heal an adult that wasn't raised in one in the first place. It does. We don't need to be isolated anymore.
beautiful. Bye, everyone. See you next week. Same time, same channel.